Hey there, TJ here, and welcome to Yeah The Dees, where I'm going through our round 21 win against North Melbourne at Blundstone Arena in Hobart by 32 points. Well, that game didn't start how we thought we would. Thought we would just easily put this club away, but the team just didn't rock up to play in that first quarter. It was very bluntly explained by Christian Petrarca at the end of the game, where he said that the team had just rocked up and just played very, very soft. Just weren't cracking into the contests, weren't jumping at the ball properly, and doing all the necessary things you need to do to win a game of football. So yeah, we got jubbed in that first quarter. It's something that can happen when you're down in Tasmania. North play Tassie very, very well. I absolutely hate playing down there. I hate that we have to play there pretty much every year. We always start slow. The conditions are always a bit strange. The sun is, in the players' eyes half the time, and usually wind is a factor. We got the job done in the end, which was fantastic. Last week, I forgot to give a shout out to Ed Langdon for his 150th, so a shout out to him. He's been fantastic since coming across from Fremantle. Yeah, so not very Melbourne-like first quarter here, getting absolutely smashed with 5 goals in a row, 6 if you count the first one of the second quarter. The Kangaroos had Clarkson coming back, coaching his 400th game. That's definitely going to bring some spark, and the players should have been a bit more prepared for it. But yeah, coming out that lazy is really, really disappointing. But I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because it was very much corrected in the second quarter, and we continued to dominate throughout the third and held them to 2 goals in the second half, which is quite impressive. Like our first quarter, whilst being terrible and only kicking 9 points, the Kangaroos only kicked 7 and 8 points in the third and fourth quarters. So despite this being such a terrible first quarter, it's only the third worst quarter from either side for the game. This goal from Cozzy Pickett is one of the best goals I've ever seen in my life. Like, being able to get it from that angle under that pressure was just absolutely phenomenal. Could not believe it. This second goal here, where he puts Jack Zeeble on ice skates, is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I love seeing him jock and move and twist and turn and just turn players inside out, trying to catch him. He's just such a joy to watch, Cozzy Pickett, and he's just coming into some really, really great form at the right time of the year. I know we were all worried about him halfway through and after he had come back from that suspension. We just didn't get this Cozzy that we're getting now. And he's coming into some great form coming into the back end of the year, which is absolutely fantastic. Harrison Petty with another great goal from the boundary. He gets his 2 goals here, one in the second and one in the third before he goes off injured. And that is a Liz Frank injury, which is really, really devastating. That's the same sort of injury that Tom McDonald has. That's been troublesome for him for a long time. I think Jack Viney may have had some issues with that part of his foot as well when he was going through those foot issues, and he's only really come good this year. He battled that for about 3 or 4 years. Probably not going to play again this year. That's just the way that it's going to look, which is really disappointing after him having a breakout game last week and kicking those 6 goals and even kicking 2 goals before having that injury. That's just life. That's injuries are a part of footy, and unfortunately for Harrison Petty, that is an injury for him. Yeah, this second quarter got really, really impressive. And whilst the Kangaroos were really, really dominant in that first quarter, their pressure rating was insane. It was at 203. Ours was at 174. And that couple of mistakes here, Stephen May missing Jake Bowie with the kick. That's the only kick he missed for the whole game. Jake Lever getting a free kick against for a block to Eddie Ford. And look, they just had a bit of luck with that sort of stuff going in. They got 3 goals from our mistakes, and that can be easily corrected, which we did do at quarter time. We kicked 7 goals, 1 to the Roos, 3-3-21. We won this quarter by 22 points and cut the lead to 4 by half time, which was after having such a deplorable first quarter. To get that back to 4 points and then have the game basically over by 3/4 time is a really impressive effort from the Dees. So I really focus more on the second quarter and third quarter, and the way that we responded from being soft and lazy. And this last quarter, we really just put the cue in the rack. It's just, we kicked 1-6-12 to the Roos 1-2-8. We had enough of the ball to, put on an incredible score, but unfortunately, bad kicking's bad footy, as I always say. So we had some bad kicking in this last quarter. I had some terrible kicking in this first quarter, going at like 40% disposal efficiency. But yeah, cue on the rack, players coming off. It's just They were just resting and relaxing, and we were cruising out for a win here. Not very exciting to watch is that sort of footy when you're just cruising to get the 4 points, but that just is what it is. In this whole second half, the ball only spent 28% of the time past the halfway point in the Kangaroos' favour. It is absolutely ridiculous that for 72% of the game time, it was forward of centre for Melbourne in this half. That just shows how much we dominated the territory, despite how much the Roos were battling and trying to impress Clarko before the end of the year. We just, absolutely dominated time and possession and keeping it forward and locking that into our forward half. Really happy with that sort of defensive effort, especially because we've been a bit weaker in that over the last coming weeks. Keeping the Kangaroos to 10 goals I'm pretty happy with, and us getting to 100 points is something else to be happy with as well. I predicted that we would get on top later in this quarter just based on the effort that North Melbourne were playing. They can't sustain a top-level pressure for a full game because they haven't done it all year. And when you haven't done it all year, that means you don't have the fitness to do it at that level the whole time. So this second quarter, they dropped from 203 in team pressure to 163. And then for these last two quarters, they got 184, 182. We actually dropped off our pressure in this third quarter at 160 and still dominated that play. This last quarter was at 189, and we were still able to hold them out from their forward half for so long. So, really just got on the ball, really got our matchups right after this first. And, Eddie Ford getting the better of Jake Lever and, one stupid mistake from Stephen May costing us a goal. But, outside of that, I wasn't really too worried. I just, it just wasn't the smashing that we all wanted. We would have loved to have gone 9 goals to 1 like we did earlier in the year, but that's just not the case for this game. And, probably Tasmania has a bit more of a say in that. We absolutely smashed them in stoppage. We're just a much better team with contests. We scored 5-4-34 to 139 from that score source, 20 points from centre bounce. So that's 3 goals, 2. We had the Kangaroos only got 1 goal, 2 from there. In turnover, we lost by 6 points. Usually we're very, very high in scoring from that source. We kicked 7-6-48 to 8-6-54. Our scoring accuracy was a lot better from general play. We had 11 shots from general play, kicking 6 goals, 3-39. And from set position, we had 18 shots, kicking 9-5-59. So, look, at least our kicking on goal was a bit better. We had, obviously quite a few misses in that last quarter, but before that, kicking 14-7 is, very decent and pretty happy with. And just absolutely dominating this display here. Christian Petrarca having an incredible game. Alex Neil-Bullen also very, very fantastic. Jacob Van Rooyen kicking a couple of goals, but also had 10 score involvements. So he's doing plenty as such a young forward. It's really, really impressive. Obviously, with Harrison Petty's injury, we need to find a new partner in crime for him. And something else that we also saw in this game is that we saw Christian Petrarca back in the middle a lot more, especially after the first quarter. He just got back in there and got to work. He attended 17 centre bounce attendances out of 28 for the game. Jack Voney had 19, Angus Brayshaw had 15, James Jordan 12, Tom Sparrow 11, with Harms and Cozzy also in there for a little bit. Cozzy attended 3. One of them was the first bounce, and he got first touch again, which has been a great stat. We've also seen that he's like the most impactful player when put in centre clearances in the AFL at the moment. That's a statistic that was running around, I think, SEN or Triple M over the weekend. But just dominant display this second quarter. Fantastic. Kicking 7-1-43 to the Roos 3-3-21. Won the quarter by 22, cut the lead by 4. In this third quarter, we just put a stake through the hearts of the Kangaroos. We kicked 6-3-39 to 1-1-7. Won the quarter by 32 points. And it's a 28-point game by there, completing a 10-goal turnaround, which, absolutely fantastic. I think it was about 67 points in the end that we turned around from their highest point to our highest point. Jake Melksham, he should have had at least 4 or 5 shots on goal with the amount that he was getting molested in that back line. He was just like, every time he'd go for a lead or whatever, he'd just get tied up. And it was just so wrong for him not to get a free kick. Outside of that, don't really have too much issues with the umpiring. There was the Harrison Petty 50 where Petty punched him in the chest, and you can't do that. That's a 50 metre every time, so I have to agree with the umpire on that one. You just can't do that. If that happened to a Melbourne player, I'd be screaming at him. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the game so far. So let's get into the votes. And the coaches' votes saw it like this, with Angus Brayshaw and Jack Viney both equal on 9, followed by Keziah Pickett, Jack Zeeble, Christian Petrarca, Taron Thomas and Alex Neil-Bullen, which means that the coaches would have split it up like this, with Angus and Jack taking out the top 2 spots for either coach. On to my votes now, and I gave 1 vote to Max Gawn. Thought he was very, very strong in the ruck against Goldstein and Cherry. He had 17 disposals, 30 hit-outs, 5 marks, 2 tackles, 297 metres, gained 82%. Game time after he spent like 10 minutes off in that last quarter to take a bit of a rest. Gave 2 votes to Jack Viney, who is in an incredible amount of form. He had 501 metres gained, which was the most out of any Melbourne player, 26 disposals. He had 10 clearances, which is by far the most in the game. Had a goal assist as well. Just another great game from Jack Viney. Gave the 3 votes to Keziah Pickett. This is one of the best 14 disposal games I've seen. He had 3 incredible goals, and all of them were pretty early in the piece when we were desperate for goals, him getting the first and then getting the first one to break that 6-goal run that the North Melbourne had, even though they only go on to score 4 more goals for the rest of the game. Gave 4 votes to Christian Petrarca, another very strong game by him, 27 disposals, kicked 2 goals, 5 tackles, 6 clearances, 384 metres gained. He's such a great player to watch, and anytime the ball goes near him, you're just confident that he's going to make something happen. Gave 5 votes to Alex Neil-Bullen. Thought he had a really, really great game, a great defensive game. Kicked 3 goals, 1, had 17 disposals, 5 tackles, 265 metres gained. He was 3rd most in the pressure act with 44 pressure points, and went at 70 disposal efficiency, which compared to a lot of the other players is actually pretty clean. But I gave the 6 votes to Lachie Hunter, and I felt like this was probably Lachie Hunter's best game for us. He had 26 effective disposals out of 33, which was the most of the day, alongside Jack Zeeble for North Melbourne. 15 of those disposals came contested. He went at practically 79%. He had 5 1%ers, 5 clearances, 5 inside 50s, 2 score involvements, 6 intercepts, 339 metres gained, and only had the 4 turnovers. So I was really happy with Lachie. It was pretty unassuming. His game probably might have flown under the radar a little bit since he didn't get into the coaches' votes. I might need to apologise to Angus Brayshaw. He topped the coaches' votes and I didn't have him in. I had him as the 7th best player. Just his disposal efficiency being down at 65%. For his 37 disposals, 27 of them being handballs. Just missed out for me, but yeah, it was another great game from Angus Brayshaw. Also had Chandler, Rivers and Salem. Thought they were all pretty great as well for the day. No VFL this week, so we'll just get straight into the ladder. And we are sitting in 2nd position. We have had some results fall our way. Mostly last week, but also this week we had Port Adelaide and Collingwood lose. Port Adelaide on a 4-loss streak and Collingwood on a 2-loss streak. And that 2nd spot looks like it's ours to hold on to now. We just need to keep winning. We've got a very tough game this week up against Carlton. Carlton are very much in form, having simplified their game, but I believe that this weekend they'll get the reality check that they need, and that's coming up against us. And we're a great side. This is the best Melbourne football team I've seen, and it's an absolute joy to watch us get to work. Obviously, our biggest dilemma at the moment is now with Harrison Petty going out injured. What do we do there? Does Joel Smith come into that forward role? Is Ben Brown fit enough to come and have a look? Do we just throw Brodie Grundy in there to give Max some relief in the ruck? I'd probably just go that route and try to get Brodie Grundy to contest, or at least if the ball comes to him, for him to use his ruck craft and do some tap work down to the smalls. Our smalls were fantastic on the weekend with Keziah, Neil-Bullen and Chandler all getting 3 goals on the board. Getting 9 goals from small forwards is utterly fantastic. Petty also getting 2, Jacob Van Rooyen getting 2. So that's a really, really great return from our forwards. I hope they can do the same sort of work against Carlton. Carlton are playing more of a man-on-man backline, and I think we'll be able to exploit that with our speed. I think Keziah will definitely be the difference this weekend. Carlton's got no one that can catch him, as far as I can tell. Yeah, so really looking forward to giving Carlton the reality check this weekend. It'll be a tough game. Our last couple of games against Carlton have been tough. We all remember the Keziah goal in the dying stages when we played them last year, and we can only hope for something as brilliant again. That 2nd spot, we're going to We just need to keep winning and lock in. But yeah, these last 3 games look a little bit harder than they did a couple of weeks ago. And isn't that the great thing about footy is just, week on week, your opinion can completely change based off the display that you see. And, Carlton look like they're in hotter form than a Port Adelaide or a Collingwood now. They look like they're almost more of a premiership chance than either of those sides. And then Brisbane even look wobbly. They almost got done by Fremantle, only won that game by 2 points. And we're, losing for a long part of that game. So I feel like we're in a really good spot. We just need to sort out who's taking over that position from Harrison Petty. Is it Joel Smith? Do you bring Tomlinson in to go back in defence to push him forward? Is Hibberd going to play in defence instead? He had a pretty good game considering he was only on for a quarter and a bit, but he's just not as tall as like a Tomlinson or someone like that. Coming up against Carlton, who are really only playing that one big forward now with Harry Mackay injured, that we should be able to control that forward line, I think. Obviously, with Clary coming back, it's very, very exciting. I cannot wait for this. We haven't seen him since like round 9 or 10 when we played Port Adelaide, and he's just really going to take our midfield back to that next level, and it'll be exciting to see how that bonds with Brayshaw and Viney, with Petrarca playing forward, and how much they bring Petrarca back in. It was a good point during the week made by David King in the means test where Melbourne probably overload a little bit in the one area, and whilst Petrarca can get 1 or 2 really good handballs out of that midfield, if he's the target inside 50 and it's Oliver getting it to him, it's Brayshaw getting it to him, it's Viney getting it to him, he's going to do a lot more damage for us moving forward. And this might be the unique spark that we need in that forward line, which may activate JVR or a Grundy to hopefully go to that next level, especially if they can tap down to our smalls. As for the midfielders that will come out for Clayton Oliver, probably JJ or James Harms. Both of them are fairly maligned players along the Demon Faithful, it seems. And I think it's just because their turnovers become very, very obvious. But Harms was second in pressure. And as for JJ, he had 22 disposals at 78%. So he was kicking at the same level that Hunter was. He's really not that bad. He set up a JVR goal. He's a very just nonchalant footballer that just gets it done and just goes hard. And he will, if he does leave the D's, he'll bring a lot of value to another club. And we'll probably shine, and everyone will be like, why did we get rid of him? Why did we let him leave? But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the game this week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and also what changes you would make to this forward line for us going forward in our premiership tilt in 2023. This has been Yeah The Dees, and I'll see you next week.
Petrarca! Oh wow! How good is that?
Sparrow to make it a 3-goal, 3-point lead. He's got it!
Surely not another one. Handball to Oliver, streaming through. Bang! Bang, bang, bang!
Melbourne are the premiers for 2021!
And it's just so special for our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.